AB Volvo and CEO, Volvo Group. Such a pleasure to welcome you on stage, sir. Martin Lundstedt is the President and CEO of the Volvo Group, a leading manufacturer of trucks, buses and construction equipment. Lundstedt has extensive experience in the automotive and transportation industries, while under his leadership, Volvo Group has focused on innovation, sustainability and digital transformation. It indeed is our honor to have him with us this morning, and we feel so happy and so privileged. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome once again.
I will utilize.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. So let's see if I have the right paper here now. It's always a little bit nervous, you know, when you're around. Good morning, everyone. Dear friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to be here. Reimagining growth. What could be a better theme for this Global Investor Meet in Karnataka 2025. And I can strongly also adhere to that statement. I think that is very important, obviously, because with growth, we can do so many things together. But we need also to imagine growth being also in the theme and the underlying theme of this conference, to be inclusive, to be green, to be resilient, and of course, as a platform also to be tech-driven, and I will talk about that as well. But first and foremost, incredible India, incredible Karnataka. Such a love story for our company with India since 25 years now. We are global headquarters for India here in Bangalore, and I have the president and CEO for Volvo Group India, Kamal Bali, and some of the senior executives here. And that journey has been a journey step by step, but lately we have accelerated big time. Today, the main global operations out of our colleagues in India is around research and development, innovation, digital experience, both when it comes to our customer front end, but also, of course, when it comes to the full value chains. It has been growing steadily. Today, the group is investing $4 billion every year in research and development and innovation, and the second biggest hub globally, lately surpassing both United States, France, and Latin America, is now India, and it's keeping growing. And what is important with that is obviously that we also have global capacities here that is also led from India, and we have moved gradually then away from being, if I may say so, a very good still but capacity-based site into a technology, innovation, and leadership-driven site when it comes to the global solutions. But it's also good news when you look at this beautiful slide, when you're going down micro level, when you're flying in, you know that there are certain challenges. India has been leapfrogging when it comes to digital, when it comes to telecom, when it comes to the financial sector, providing bank accounts to everyone thanks to the digital revolution. But one of the key pillars of growth moving forward is logistics and transportation, both for people and for goods. And just to be clear about that, India is still lagging behind. Because with the digital capacity, you need to connect that to the physical flows and the physical assets in order to make that happen. Today, if you take the GDP of a country or a region, and the GDP is 100%, if you are below 10% share of the total GDP that is logistics, you have an advanced logistics system, and you see a very clear relation with that level and the GDP growth per capita, per people. And in order to now accelerate growth for India to the next lever, becoming the third biggest economy globally, this is an area that needs absolutely to be addressed. And guys, exciting times ahead, right? Because for everyone that is in this sector, it will mean immense opportunities. Today, India has a GDP share of logistics for the total GDP that is 14 to 15%. And we need now to work diligently in this value chain to take that down to the 8-9% that is the benchmark. That we have done in so many other sectors and that we can do together, but that requires an ecosystem play. No one can do it alone, we need to do it together. A couple of words about the group, the Volvo Group. We are one of the 2-3 biggest providers of transportation equipment in the world. So it's trucks, everything from light commercial vehicles up to the really heavy-duty stuff, all applications. It is buses. I think that is a love story also with India, where resilience, safety, comfort, uptime took us also to build a very strong brand name here in India, together with our partners. Construction equipment. We are in Pinya here in Karnataka with our industrial footprint, where we are one of the top 3 players in the globe as well. And on top of that, of course, financial services, autonomous solutions, and also marine and industrial applications. A total top line of $55 billion, and as I said, $4 billion out of that we are reinvesting every year when it comes to research and development and digital. And on top of that, of course, considerable investments when it comes to our industrial and commercial footprint. 190 countries around the globe is where we are present. But I can tell you, and I'm not saying that to flatter you, because if it's facts, it's not flattering. I learned. I just say it fact-based. India is one of the top, I should say, to be conservative, 3 countries where we are investing the most, but between friends in this room, top 2 countries where we are investing the most for the time being. So this is a top tier and top priority, and we are very happy for that. So that is a little bit where we are. And maybe just to give a glimpse, we were invited at CES, you know, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. There are only 4 keynotes every year there. So it was NVIDIA, Panasonic, Delta, and it was the Volvo Group. And just take a small look on how it looked in Vegas a couple of weeks ago.
Lost, just look inside and you'll find who you're meant to be. Unstoppable.
It's interesting actually, because the reason why I wanted the team to take this video along, that was the introduction video. It has been, I mean, the whole show has been streamlined by millions of people around the globe, is that it's one-to-one fit with the theme that the leadership of Invest in Karnataka has brought to this table. It is about tech-driven, as I said, it's about resilience, it's about green, it is about inclusive, and I think it's more important than ever that we see these themes in a world that is, of course, challenged from many different angles, that we are steady in our course. Resilient growth means also prosperous growth. So that's the reason why I said, I mean, how can it be that we had more or less exactly the same type of feeling here? But also, why did we end by saying we are here? Because if we were not here, not only Volvo, but all our downstream and upstream partners, and if we just turn it black here, what will happen? And we have seen that, not at least during very difficult times. It could be conflicts, or we have this terrible situation with the pandemic, etc. That if we are not here, we cannot provide for hospital foods, waste management. We are actually together, as was said here, the lifeblood of society. and not only in the daily activities, but we can also drive competitives out of that. And the thing is, we should not forget about that 70% today of global transportation is done by trucks. The good news is, of course, that these trucks can be evolved both when it comes to the technology content that has happened a lot, obviously. I've been around for 30 years. I hope you should say now, you look so young, but you don't, but it doesn't matter. 30 years, and I see in the technology evolution when it comes to the trucks, and when it comes to the buses, when it comes to powertrain, when it comes to steering, when it comes to security and safety systems, etc. But what is happening on top of that now is the full revolution of autonomous in different shapes and forms, and then, of course, the opportunity to drive the digital type of connections, and we will hear more about that during the panel here, because we have some very prominent Indian companies driving this revolution. But 70%, and we can do a lot with that installed fleet, modernize it, connect it, work even closer together, and we will build that resilience. The fact is that if you look globally, road transport will multifold 4 to 5 times. I mean, if that is 3x or 4x and 5x, doesn't matter. We need to address this in order to embrace it, because the mega trends in terms of the population increase, in terms of urbanization, in terms of e-commerce, in terms of still, increased trade, increased technology content, etc. This will happen, but it needs to be considerably more sustainable, because otherwise the side effects of increased logistics will take over, and we don't want that to happen. And this is, this slide is a little bit busy. I've done it myself, so bear with me. But it means a lot to me, because if you see on the left side here, logistics is a key driver for GDP per capita. We should never forget that. And I was alluding to, how that is driving a country's competitiveness, but also how that is driving life-changing events for people. So the GDP per capita is the key driver why logistics and transportation is so important. But we also know that we have side effects here. We have side effects that we should address and that we should talk clearly about. We have climate impact, we have biodiversity impact if we're not doing it right, we have air pollution. We know it well, many of us living in big cities. We have noise, we have congestion, but we also have attractiveness amongst drivers and people. And we need to call a spade for a spade and say, how do we address this in order to make this more attractive? And the good news, if we are working together with the influential factors that you can see, it is regulatory, it's policies, it's technology, it is ecosystem, it's digital, it is a financial framework. Doing this, we will actually win, and we will turn not only the wealth creation, but also the other side effects into green. What can be more exciting than that? And that's the reason why, when it comes to talent acquisition, we are in a good place now. People love to work in this type of sector and make a difference. How should we make it happen? If you look at this slide here, this is the famous equation of transformation. As you can see, this is an equation consisting of 5 parameters, and they are times each other. Meaning that if one of these parameters is 0, the outcome is 0. You need equipment. We can provide that, and there are other actors also, I have to admit, that can provide that. We need charging infrastructure, we need grid, we need green production of energy, we need the right type of direction when it comes to, taxes or whatever, fairly between fossil-free and fossil-based, and we need a supply chain, both upstream and downstream, that is maturing. If we get that act together, we will see that our customers and customers' customers will have the peace of mind of doing this transformation, and we will see take rates accelerate. So if we should remember anything, where are you in this equation? How can we do it together in order to make it happen? A couple of words on our direction as a group. We call it 3 times 100%, 100% safe. If you think about Volvo, maybe closing your eyes, maybe you think about safety, right? So 100% safe for our customers, 100% more productive, and 100% fossil-free. That is where we need to go, and we can know that through a 3-pronged approach. It will be battery electric, it will be fuel cell, hydrogen-based electric, and it will also be combustion engines with renewable power. Both hydrogen, but also biomethane and other type of renewable sources. And I can tell you, with the energy transition and development that India is going through, this will be a core asset, not only for India, but India for the world, because with the deployment of this, it will drive not only the renewable revolution for India, but it will drive technology content that will be exported globally, in line with the Make in India strategy. So, friends, I will not continue forever. We have a panel waiting. They are eager, I see here, so I will bear with me. But I will just conclude by saying that this is all about people. I always say to my teams that, you know, if you take all the different bits and pieces that we have in the Volvo Group or in our ecosystem, you can buy that. And we will probably hear that also from the logistical experts here. All of us, almost all bits and pieces, we can buy it. But to assemble that to an ecosystem is done by people working together. So our call here today, for all of us that love Karnataka, that want to invest here, that want to drive growth, is to continue connecting the ecosystem. So we can talk about the different investments that we are doing. We are now continuing our investments, I should admit, both when it comes to industrial footprint, when it comes to the technology footprint, when it comes to the digital footprint. But we are also investing heavily in continuing to reinforce our ecosystem in Karnataka and India, because together we can make it happen. And, you know, I'm immensely proud about that. Talking about diversity, for example, this is the site in the world that is growing the quickest, but it's the most diverse site also when it comes to gender, for example. And that is done because we would like to recruit the best. And then when we do that, we are getting that fantastic mix of people. And that goes also all of us here, guys. If we continue to work together in a transparent, trustful, mutual respectful way, win-win situation, because that is what makes it happen, then we can also change the world. And by that, I would like to say, and finalize by quoting one of my predecessors, Gunnar Engelau, who introduced the safety belt back in the days. He said, if we are transporting people, and when people are in the asset, safety needs to be the #1 priority. And he said also one day when it was a little bit more rainy days for Volvo, but they did see the light in the tunnel, it was a down cycle. And then he said, and he had many colleagues in the room, and he said, I take my hat off for everything that has been achieved, but I take my jacket off and roll up the sleeves for the future. So let's do that together. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Martin. Thank you so much for such an insightful keynote address. It really is our pleasure. I think we should have a bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Well, with that now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our session 1, the next mile, innovations shaping the future of logistics, for which I take the pleasure of requesting our moderator to join us on stage, as I take the pleasure of welcoming Veeraraghav, Executive Editor, NDTV. Veeraraghav is the Executive Editor at NDTV, a leading Indian news organization. Veeraraghav has extensive experience in journalism, covering business economy and technology. He's a respected moderator and anchor known for his insightful questions and engaging discussions. Let's hear a big hand and let's welcome him on stage. A hearty warm welcome to you. I now take the pleasure of requesting our next speaker, Sandeep Deshmukh, co-founder and CEO, ElasticRun. Sandeep Deshmukh is the co-founder and CEO of ElasticRun, a logistics and transportation platform. Deshmukh has expertise in logistics, supply chain management, and technology. He has built ElasticRun into a leading platform for logistics and transportation solutions. Well, we're extremely delighted to have Mr. Deshmukh with us. I also take the pleasure of requesting our next speaker, Mr. Rama Subramaniam, co-founder and head, New Initiatives, to join us on stage. Mr. Rama Subramaniam will join us in a while. On that note, I would leave it to our moderator to take the session forward.
Thanks very much, Afshan. We'll wait for Mr. Ramasubramaniam, or do we start? We can start? He's having logistics issues in reaching last mile. Okay. You know, Martin, at the end of his speech, said he's going to roll his sleeves up. Sandeep and I have already rolled our sleeves up for the future. So India is raring to go, Martin, and God Morgan, and I hope Tak is the way you say thank you in Swedish. Thank you very much for an honest and really impressive keynote, which sort of sets multiple issues at play. I had a lot of questions written down, but you, sir, with your keynote have answered many of it, so the logistics of this conversation is going to be difficult for me right now. But let me begin on a light note with you before I get into serious this one. You come to India twice a year, you told me. Ever fancy driving in India? What do you think of our road sense? Is there a Swedish advice that we could take to start with?
No, but I can tell you that I drive in India, but I drive at our test track in Hoskote, confined area, so that we are testing our new technology. And when it comes to the public roads, I leave it to the professionals. I think that is wise. But having said that, we have actually very, very good cooperation between India and Sweden on national level when it comes to road safety and how we can actually develop infrastructure, where our group are together with many prominent Indian and Swedish companies together with authorities is working on that very, very important fact, because I think sustainability is about efficiency and greening, as we are doing, but it's also about safety. We want our drivers and the ecosystem you're working with coming home safe to their families and friends. So I think it's a good question and very important question.
Right, we learn safer road rules globally as we go along. But jokes apart, you made a very serious point, and the other serious point that you started your keynote with is absolutely imperative to bring down from 13-14% of GDP to about 8% of GDP. You've outlined the goal, which you think is essential for India as we follow the growth trajectory. What would you believe are the key challenges, one above all, while we try to achieve that target that you have put out for us?
No, but I think, I had the honor to be in Delhi on Tuesday meeting two of the really senior ministers in this field, Minister Goyal and Minister Gadkari, and also, of course, Amitabh Kant, one of the top-notch visionaries in these areas. And I'm very happy that we are so aligned regarding this, that we see that this is a great opportunity for India, given also that we have this platform, as I said, with a very digital-savvy population, in all different shapes and forms, right? But we need to connect that to the physical assets and the physical flows now. And there also we have the development ready, but what is happening now with a very clear view both on state and national level when it comes to infrastructure built out, when it comes to the logistical corridors, when it comes to developing the regulatory framework, utilizing the equipment that we have for the hub-to-hub, having really smart companies working on the end-to-end logistics and connecting this. But then also to take the opportunity, as you've done on the digital, to leapfrog when it comes to infrastructure. Take the green corridors now, for example. Take the opportunity for LNG, for CNG that eventually will become hydrogen, but also electromobility, right? So I think the equation is an equation that India can make it happen, because I feel that we're aligned between the political leadership, the authorities, and the top think tanks from the authorities together with industry. So let's make it happen. This is a golden egg for Indian competitiveness.
Right, interesting that you say that. Sandeep, you want to weigh in on what you think are the logistical nightmares in making that happen from an India context specifically?
Yeah, I think you touched upon almost all the points which probably from a policy side would have to be taken care of. But even when those areas are taken care of, if you split down from the cost-wise, where is the money spent? I mean, if you we work with several manufacturers who are in the consumption space. While the 14% logistics cost is a fairly right number, but the amount of money that gets spent into the long hauls versus the amount of money that gets spent into the last mile, and the last mile in India is not like a few kilometers, but because of smaller road, because of the distance, rural geographies, last mile is very long, and that is where at least 70% pure logistics cost sits into that area. And my only weigh in on that, the point that you talked of, when we solve the green corridors, we definitely solve very large problem, very big problem, but the true cost lies in the areas afterwards. I don't know, like manufacturers, like if you can solve some bit of that problem, that how do we go deeper with smaller vehicles, smaller because our roads are smaller, the density in those markets are smaller, and solve the cost problem there. And of course, it would need the software layer sitting on top of that, wherein we aggregate all the idle capacities and make the hubs connects to the actual points of consumption. I think that will move the needle to a much bigger extent beyond connecting to the main hubs.
If I may add on that, I'm very passionate about this, and obviously, as I said in my keynote, we are doing also light commercial vehicles, so we are into the last mile. Yesterday, I was with Helena and Kamal and the team. We were in Bhopal, where we inaugurated the new Pro X series, the Pro 2000 series for Eicher. And we are a very proud JV partner with Eicher Motors and Volvo Group. And that is the smallest now, 3.5 tonner.
Oh, sure.
And that is the first now production coming out is fully electric. It will be followed then by CNG, LNG, and also diesel. But it's exactly pinpointed to what you said, affordable, but still smart in the type of configuration, so we can build it to the need of what you have. But I just would like to say something very special about that line also, because it's a fantastic product, and I will not make advertisement about that. But it's a 100% female line. Wow. So it will be built 100% by female colleagues. And why is that important? Because it's also showing that it's a full logistic value chain, right? And that is, but I agree, this is the big issue.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm really sorry.
Good to see you.
That's okay. We already announced that you had a logistics issue reaching last mile. So, sorry, we were just having a conversation about. You were. Go ahead, Sandeep. You wanted to say something? You were just beginning to say something when I.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my thought now.
All right. So when you made this fascinating point now about a 100% female line that's coming up. On the other hand, there's also the question of automation, AI. These are all going hand in hand, right? So you pointed out in your keynote about the digital public infrastructure, DPI, and the fact that we've become so digitally rich. Now, to transport that into the logistics space has got to be the key mindset and cultural challenge. You oversee several countries in the world, right? When you see India per se, and while all of us have folded our sleeves for India, what would you see are possibly the attitudinal approach issues that need to be tinkered with or addressed at the moment?
No, and we have the experts next to me here, but I will take it from my point of view. I think this is a key opportunity for India. I think this exact spot is what will drive the whole journey when it comes to logistic and transportation efficiency, because the digital savviness is uniquely strong in India. And that we should take that as a very good starting point. I mean, of course, we are applying a lot of digital capabilities along the value chains in our manufacturing systems, in our service system, in our financial systems. And then when I talk about financial, I mean customer finance. We are connected so we can provide individualized insurance, individualized customer. We have deploying now the electromobility service provider digital layer across many of the big regions. We are supporting the charge point operator digital layer. We are following, and I have Satish here, so our digital leader for Volvo Energy. We are having 100% surveillance of all battery cells, for example. So I mean, the digital savviness in Volvo, but I think the big challenge is that how do we orchestrate? Because I think what logistics is particular, I mean, if you digitalize a factory, you deploy AI, smart machine learning, smartness, but it's your factory. You do it in your four walls. Here, you need to connect a lot of actors working together. And if we can crack that nut.
Okay, so I think from a solution-wise, we know how what needs to be solved is just, I think, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of parties needs to come together. Like as we speak today, my today's dashboard says we have some 62,000 vehicles on the road in different parts of the country moving. And most of them, not all of them, we have enabled with the right data analytics, telematics for us to pull the data in and make necessary decisions. And we are not talking about making decisions on the health of the engine, but capacity utilization is the biggest challenge for us. And that's how we solve and that's how we make money. I think there is need for at a policy level, we need to have, say, the UPI movement of telematics of all the commercial vehicles of India. If that comes up and at real time, and we do it for our own network. So I know which vehicle is where and what percentage of utilization it is at. But that's not available everywhere. And every time I hire a vehicle, I need to get that system plugged in there. What if that is available by default at every truck, every commercial vehicle that is moving across the country? And that needs government to come together, the manufacturer come together. We can bring down the underutilization of every asset on the ground by few percentage points. I mean, just imagine if you improve the underutilization by 20%, you are talking of getting that logistics cost from 14% to probably 12% in one stroke. And these are all decision points. Capabilities exist. The software capability exists. The hardware capability exists. I think someone needs to pull this together, and it could be a big business.
Ram, is it still a small preserve that's talking about it? Because when we talk trucking, it's a very, very large industry when you look at it. You have real-time tracking as well that you go through. How difficult is this to scale and take it to not just the last mile in terms of rural reach, but in terms of the last truck on the road?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll quickly give a background about the overall landscape. He's mainly talking about the last mile, and I agree with him that lots of cost sits there. But for us, the first leg is also, very, very large. India has close to 3.5 million trucks, out of which 2.5 million trucks are still running actively on roads. And India as a country itself, the loads are, heavily imbalanced. If you go to north, it's not that you will get the load back and exactly the suitable load back to the same location, right? So the imbalance is very, very, very high, right? And in this scenario, utilization of trucks, it becomes a major challenge for India. And I'll just throw one metric. The Western countries, they have 22 to 23 billable days of a truck, right, in a month. whereas in India has only 15 to 16 billable days in a month, right? That talks about the logistics efficiency, right? All of us sitting here, whether it's the manufacturer or the last mile, or even in our case the intercity, we are all trying to address the earnings of a truck owner by improving the billable days, by improving the utilization. There we have seen in the last 10 to 12 years, lots of improvements have happened. When we started, the owner smartphone penetration was less than 20%, and the driver smartphone penetration was negligible. Today we are talking about the truck owner smartphone penetration of more than 95% and driver having more than 70% smartphone penetration. So there is a huge opportunity for us to bring this community together, digitalize the entire ecosystem, and then improve the overall efficiencies. That's what we are focusing on as a country. Yeah.
Can I just, I think this, thank you, the two of you also, because I think this is exactly the conversation that we need to have. Because often we are focused on the different verticals, okay, what can the manufacturer do in, incrementally, for example, fuel consumption, super important topics. But the big gain in this, the secret source in this is really to see the end-to-end type. I love the metric about the billable days. Another metric that you can throw in is the average mileage per year on long haul or last mile. And I think it's a difference. If you take, if you take Netherlands, for example, that is a very advanced logistical country, to take a neutral ground, I think the average mileage is probably 3 to 4x higher. And thanks to companies like you, we can actually get the pool of how do we drive efficiency in terms of mileage, billable days, which is in the interest of everyone, because it's about utilization rate. And then also, that will justify slightly higher capex for lower OPEX, for example, for electromobility or for hydrogen or whatever, because you see that this is driving. Now we are doing the tests with delivery. It could have been anyone, but they are a transport company, as you know, and we are up to 280,000 kilometers per year now. What is that in miles? It's, you can calculate it.
We have 500 kilometers.
Okay, we have kilometers, that's great. But 280,000 kilometers, which is unheard of historically. But on top of that, it is a road train combination that will go now, hopefully from 55 to 70 tons, and average speed then, because safety systems are there. That type of development we can only drive if we have companies like you orchestrating, so to speak, the logistic system. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Interesting that you say that. And the other point that you mentioned very clearly is that you need all of you to work together to achieve the target, right? It cannot be done standalone by one company or the other, including other actors as well. How aligned, is this a very small group that's aligned, or is this alignment to create an ecosystem to achieve the target he makes out? Do you see that resonate across the board? Or is it still at its nascent stages where people don't realize that, look, I'm not in this alone?
Yeah. No, so it may not be practical to see that everyone is fully aligned, right? For example, I would say from, just as an industry observer, I would say that we should regulate the supply of trucks, right? Which would not go well with them, right? It is basically, the thing is that the industry, it is a low entry barrier industry. Anybody can buy and come in, which increases the supply, and that reduces the price, right? If you really see, the road tolling has increased, toll prices from nowhere it has come. Fuel prices have been increasing. Thankfully, the manufacturers have been improving on the mileages, therefore there has been an improvement. But if you see overall, the cost has increased over a longer period, but the prices in India have not increased to that extent. So there is a huge pressure, right? So some regulation has to come in terms of the supply of trucks at the right locations. That may not go very well with the manufacturers. But there are certain alignments that will have to come. Mileage is one important aspect. And also the trucks coming with a lot more information which would benefit the truck owner and improve the earnings. There we can do a lot more alignments.
So how does one balance a manufacturer's business interests and needs, which is very important, with the needs that he's mentioning about? I mean, how do you strike a balance?
Yeah.
No, but I think what is good in our sector, and that's the reason why we can have this type of very, open and transparent dialogue, is that it's a B2B business. And so it's very fact-based, and it's less about, emotions. And the fact is that India's logistic cost is too high in relation to what it should be. And there we can discuss what is the right levers to get there. I think with our experience, it's a combination, as I said, about, and there I fully agree, by the way, that it's the right type of equipment for the right region in terms of what is the regulatory framework, how does it look like when it comes to the infrastructure, what is, so to speak, the distances, what is the topography, what is the industries we are serving, etc. Because a truck is not a truck, it is a piece of production equipment that must be optimized for that mission. So I think the interest of the manufacturer in most of the cases are completely aligned with all of us here, but most importantly for the consumers and for the citizens, because at the end of the day, an efficient logistics system will drive prosperity. That is a one-to-one relation. You can see it country by country, and it is like that. It is almost a fact.
So Veera, I don't think it is the question of if the goals are aligned. I think there are too many moving parts. When you look at the whole consumption, there is a manufacturer, there is a shipper, there is a trucker, there is a truck manufacturer. There are folks who are in the end consuming all of this, right?
And very importantly, the government.
And
in terms
of course, the government
policy,
is there, right?
Yeah.
And each one has optimized the ecosystem for their own self, rightfully so, right? Manufacturer will optimize for their margins. The truckers will look at their cash flow. Everyone is doing, right? But it need not be a zero-sum game. If for some way, if we can connect all of these into a data network, I think there is enough pie for each one to share and still continue to benefit. I mean,
you're primarily saying information will be the leveler?
I think information, if that is available in real time to everyone on transaction level, on ongoing basis, I think all of us can improve on our numbers, and the whole ecosystem will substantially improve.
Right. Interesting that you say that.
I'll just add a point quickly. We have logistics committees, and then the government institutes a large participation from all ecosystem players to get the right information and so on. The point I'm trying to make is it's a very, very large landscape. The change will take a lot more time, right? Maybe it is not the idea to regulate the new supply, but it is important for us to come up with a very strong scrappage policy so that the number of trucks, old trucks, it moves out of the system. All these things, it's happening, but the change is taking a lot more time.
As you mentioned that, let me shift focus, because one of the key objectives of all this that we are talking about is for sustainability, greener environment, serious concerns that are there, which is real life concerns, right? So key issues there. Martin, in terms of the road that we have taken, and I don't just say this purely from an India point of view, globally as well, would you say that you were thrilled about the steps that have been taken and the kind of attention that's been given to work towards net zero and greener solutions? Or do you still believe that there's still a lot more that's wanting in the way that we are moving ahead towards it?
No, I mean, if I talk as Volvo Group CEO, or if I talk as Martin, that is fully aligned. I'm a strong believer that we need to go in this direction. And the reason is simple. Technology will show that this is the right thing. We have seen that in renewables elsewhere, that when we are really focusing, we are also getting, so to speak, the technology metrics. We know that the marginal cost of solar and wind is out-competing any other energy source today already. Then we need to continue to work similar in the energy transition, in the ecosystem, to optimize also the energy transition with storage, etc. But if we get that act together, and someone will do that, you don't want to stand on the wrong side. And India, if you take that particular, we have fantastic opportunities, and that's the reason why we are putting more and more efforts when it comes to our innovation technology teams in India on this matter, because we can utilize that in this continent that is called India, because it will be a huge market, but also for the global scene, right? So we are strong believers. It will not be one silver bullet. It will be different technologies. It will be, as I said, battery electric for different applications. It will be fuel cell electric, the same propulsion system, but with fuel cell or hydrogen. But combustion engine will play a very important role, where India is also bullish about CNG, LNG, that eventually will be biomethane, because circularity will continue to play a very important role. It will not be a competition with food. That is absolutely prohibited given the challenges that we will continue to have on that side. But circularity will play a big role. So we like it. We are excited about it.
Oh, you're excited.
And we will drive it.
You will drive it. That's one thing you're going to drive. I want to know, as you drive it, do you have markers, and I'm not asking only as the Volvo group, right? Would you have markers that you think you would like to see? Let's say in 5 years down the line, I'd like this much percentage to have already transformed. Do you have something that runs in your mind, not just as a business idea, but more as somebody who's driving this so passionately?
Yeah, and I think you can take it in different dimensions. You can take it in markets, which is one dimension. I mean, and we, of course, we see deployment in certain markets and pockets going big time already now. But I think even more important, you need to look into it in different segments and applications, because it matters, the different technologies, more or less depending on segments. If that is intercity, if that is last mile, if that is, I mean, in the regional distribution, if that is waste collection, if that is mining, if that is port applications, you know, we need to think more about that, because that comes together with the equation and things like that. And just to come back to the competitiveness and who is having what margin, I think that this transformation is actually scrutinizing another very important factor, and that is not the division of margin. It's the how do we take out the waste, waiting time, utilization rates that are too low, safety issues. If we can do that, we will have a cake that will actually provide better margins for all of us and the consumer. So, sorry for that long.
No, interesting. The two of you want to weigh in on that point that he's making?
Yes, I think as sustainability becomes more and more powerful word and more powerful driver, I think we are fortunate to be on the receiving end of the positive receiving end of the story. We reach the markets which are very difficult to reach. So typically the vehicle utilization in the markets that we go in are even at a third level of what it will be in hub to hub. And because we could aggregate supplies across so many manufacturers, we essentially improve the utilizations to a substantially higher level. And this essentially feeds into the sustainability goals of some of the very large brands. These are global and national brands. And by working with us on our platforms, they could, some of them can have very highly improved board level numbers. So yeah, we would be very, very supportive of anything driving on sustainability for better topics.
No, I agree. See, we both, for example, collect lots of information about each and every shipment, each and every run, right? So therefore, all these information can become very, very crucial for the manufacturers in terms of what capacity of trucks to come in, which sectors, and also in terms of mileage improvement. Even with respect to utilization and so on, there are lots of other things that can be done together. Now we have lots of data. In the past, this industry did not have so much of data, but today, due to the entry of all of us, the data available on various shipments, it's huge, right? And manufacturers can definitely make use of that information.
Interesting, and now that you put it, I'm coming to the last section of this conversation, which is about policy and regulatory frameworks, which would play an extraordinarily important, crucial role in terms of this. Martin, you want to weigh in terms of India, where you've already mentioned that in terms of the top echelons of whether it's the central government or the state government, they're aligned with the thoughts that you're saying, but in terms of policy frameworks, what would be the key aspects that need to be looked at specifically?
No, but I think there are, of course, everything from, when you talk about policy frameworks and so to speak, the public-private play, I think first and foremost is the continuous encouragement of investments in the right pockets that are, so to speak, the public responsibility of infrastructure, both energy and mobility infrastructure. That is a very important part of their equation. But then, as has been said here, continue also to give clear views going forward on where are the direction in terms of the energy transformation, where I think a lot of very interesting things going on in India. I think also other factors that has played in our direction, GST, back in the days, is now coming more and more, making it easier for the hub to hub and really connect India and connect India to the world. And then obviously it is about also, safety standards. And so you really need to stretch in the thinking in order to create sustainable logistic systems for real. But I feel also both on a national and state level, you can have a very strategic and pragmatic conversation now because it's on top of the agenda today. If I look back maybe 5-10 years, I think it was more rightly so on the agenda of digital because there were so many lower hanging fruit. This will take time, as we have heard, but everyone knows if we don't do it, we will not gain the competitiveness and sustainability goals needed. So we are coming back to the sleeves here.
I think we already discussed this thing. One big policy change could be if we can have the national level platform where everyone is required to come in and of course with right privacy protection share enough data on at least on the commercial utilization, commercial vehicles and overall movement of the goods. If that can be done, then as an outcome of that we as a total overall industry can follow something like the CAFE norms which are coming up in the emission world. Even if we start measuring the utilization across the supply chain from point of manufacturing till point of consumption, I think that cost of logistics from 14% just by watching it can drop by a couple of percentage points. I think that will be a big one, and of course that data will throw lot many more action items.
Just do whatever you're doing with the information and efficiency, and you'll bring that down from 14%.
Just watch the information.
I don't know if there is a term, forgive me if there is one, but like DPI, is there a DTI, digital transport infrastructure, that can be a platform to build all this on?
So the government has already taken steps towards this. Today, we have all the e-waybill information, we have all the tolling information, and they are trying to create a logistics platform where all information is actually coming in. But as I said, it's just mere the size of the industry, it is making it very difficult for us to make the changes, right? So whether it is energy or even drivers related regulations in terms of driving hours, in Western countries, we have clear driving hours regulation, but in India, we do not have, right? And that leads to multiple problems, including financial inclusion, right? And along with that, very important, in my view, GST and scrappage policy would play a major role in terms of making a transformation in this industry, right? So these are the main changes I would expect. The government has taken certain steps, but it will have to be accelerated going forward for us to see a big change.
It's a fascinating points that all three of you have made. My last question, and I don't want this restricted only to India, right? Because this is a global, global issue that we're speaking about. And as far as Volvo itself is concerned, what would be your concerns from a global point of view? For instance, the trade tariffs in the US. There are multiple headwinds that businesses face in terms of uncertainty. What would be key worries in your mind from a global standpoint in terms of the business itself?
How much time do we have?
Time's up, it says, but we'll make time for you.
No. I'm a born optimist. I hope you feel that. Obviously, I mean, there are temporary headwinds. You can talk about the geopolitics, etc. There could be other headwinds. We are now, I mean, if you look at some of the main markets, a little bit in a correction, a down cycle. So you can make a long list of things that you need to worry about. I think, I mean, we have a very clear view that we have strong regional, in the main regional value chains to build resilience. And then we have an interconnection based on that we have discussed here, technology, innovation, digital, industrial value chains. But we also have resilience in that. So I think we will be well out there, good out there. I think the more important makes me, super positive is the conversation that we have had here today. We know that logistics and transport is driving prosperity. And I mean, the ultimate metric of that is, of course, prosperity for the individual. GDP, buying power, that you can have the freedom to operate as an individual or as a family. And we know that if we do that more resilient and sustainable, the guys that are doing that, because that will always exist, with or without trade barriers, or with or without, we will make something bigger than ourselves. We will shape the world we want to live in. So I'm a born optimist.
You're an optimist. I think as we close this conversation, maybe I should urge you to take off your jacket and roll up your sleeves like the rest of us here.
Yeah, I will do that. I will do that for the final photo.
Should do that. Thanks very much to all three of you for sharing fascinating insights. I'm sure the government is listening. I'm sure the inputs will be taken. I'm sure the consumers are listening. And I hope you achieve that target that you've set out in your keynote. Thanks very much.
So let's take a photo.
There you go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should give a big round of applause for all our dignitaries for such an engaging, insightful, and a very informative session. Well, let's hear a bigger applause. Truly, what a session it was. Such great, valuable insights from everyone. Well, thank you so much, dignitaries on stage. Requesting you to please remain back on stage for a moment. I request Kamal Bali from Government of Karnataka to please join us on stage to hand over memento to all our dignitaries. Starting firstly with Martin Lundstedt. Well, I would also now request Kamal Bali to capture a wonderful moment with all our dignitaries right here on stage. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next session. We have two sessions in the current hall as well as in Hall E. We have a session on India at the core, shaping the future of global aerospace and defense sourcing. We have Michelle from Airbus and Hu from Rolls-Royce who will be joining for the session. And right here, we get started with our next session from heritage to hot couture, which will be starting in a few minutes from now. Well, with that, I would once again thank all our dignitaries right here on stage for your valuable time. We would also like to quickly remind everyone about the evening program. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly note that we will be having the SME Connect Award ceremony, which will be celebrating the innovation and excellence, which will be happening from 6 p.m. onwards, followed by a dinner that will be hosted by Shri Sharana Basuappa, Minister for Small Scale Industries and Public Enterprise. Requesting everyone to please be a part of it.